Hey, I want to get to the president's infrastructure plan. I'm going to play a clip, if I may, for us.
We're here today to discuss the critical need to rebuild America's crumbling infrastructure. And one understands, and the people in this room really understand better than most, probably, hopefully better than anybody, that the problem the states have and local leaders have with funding the infrastructure is horrendous. And we will build, we will maintain, and the vast majority of Americans want to see us take care of our infrastructure. As of a couple of months ago, we have spent $7 trillion in the Middle East. $7 trillion. What a mistake. But it is what it is. This is what I took over. And we're trying to build roads and bridges and fix bridges that are falling down. And we have a hard time getting the money. It's crazy. But think of that. As of a couple of months ago, $7 trillion in the Middle East. And the Middle East is far worse now than it was 17 years ago when they went in. And not so intelligently, I have to say, went in. I'm being nice.
The president, no more Mr. Nice Guy, he says. Congressman Taylor, so let's go to this infrastructure plan. Not exactly what we expected. The president's saying, look, a down payment, $200 billion, $10 billion for this, $10 billion for that. I'm going to incent local and state governments. But basically he's saying, look, this is the responsibility of local and state governments. We're going to guide you. We're going to ease the regulations. We're going to make it easy for you. But you've got to take some of our incentives, some of the matches, block grants. But at the end of the day, it's up to the states of Commonwealth of Maryland, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Virginia. You guys figure it out. And then locally, you know what? Virginia Beach, Loudoun County, Montgomery County, Jacksonville. You guys figure it out. You're going to have to pay for it. We're going to help a little bit, but it's really on local and state governments. Get the decisions closer to the people. You guys figure it out. We'll be here to help. That's the message. Is this concept workable?
Well, I haven't seen all the details, John, but I do like the idea of things being closer and the decisions, to local, because we know best, obviously, what our traffic issues and our problems here at Hampton Roads, for example. I think a couple of things that I've heard from the president, and quite frankly, what's been happening this whole year are the reduction of burdensome regulations and permits, and when you talk to, I think the president has used the example of the Empire State Building being built in like a year, but yet it would take 10 years to get a damn highway built. I mean, it's insane. So I think that the federal government can absolutely help in terms of reducing some of the time and burden, because time is money in construction. Time is money. So being able to partner with state and local folks to incentivize them to do the same thing, because let's face it, we're down in Chesapeake. There are some hurdles to folks being able to get projects done. And you can have a bunch of money, but if you have tons of regulations and takes tons of time for permit, you're not using the money the most effective and efficient way to be able to rebuild infrastructure. So, I do like what I'm hearing, but I haven't seen all the details, so I can't completely say I'm all for it 100%. I agree with the president. He talks about the $7 trillion being spent in the Middle East. I don't like the nation building, not to rehash the Iraq War and all that and Afghanistan War, but I think it is pretty ridiculous how much money we have spent in the Middle East, and a lot of that should have been directed to rebuilding this nation.
We're on the same page on that. I was, as you know, opposed to all these wars and wish we hadn't been in any of them, including the defense of Kuwait, which I thought was the Saudis' problem, not ours. But we don't have time for that today. That's already been debated and decided. Who cares? Now, let's get to the president's compromise on DACA. And I know that you have said, look, we have dreamers here. We have these children brought into the country by no decision of their own. Many of them now adults. They have jobs. They're in college. They don't know any other place but the United States. I know you've been sympathetic to that. So the president's saying, okay, we get it.
We've also invested in them. I mean, let's face it.
I get it.
But I have to be, if you don't mind, John,
yes.
Before you, because of course I've been attacked and my position's been distorted like crazy with this. And if you go to my website, my position is the same as it's been since September. Sure, I want to find a deal with that, but it has to have border security and wall funding, if you will. It has to have disincentives for future illegal immigration. Otherwise, you're going to be in the same damn position that you're in now, along with a fix for those folks. And it has to have those two things first before it has any fix. And my position has been the same all along. So I want to preface it with that.
Okay. So I have a simple question. Do you support the president's DACA compromise?
Meaning the 1.8 million. Well, he doesn't have a specific detailed plan right now. So I do support a compromise that deals with more border security, more disincentives for future illegal immigration, so you don't have the same problem, but gets a fix for that population. That's what I support, which is the same thing as the president. The details are yet to be known because it's still sort of being negotiated, and quite frankly, there is no vehicle at this moment that everyone is coalescing around. There's a good lat bill. There's something that's happened in the Senate. I know the president has said, what he wants, but he is not hard and fast on all those details. So, I think there will be negotiation. It has to be bipartisan. But I'm with the president in saying I want more border security. I want more disincentives for illegal immigration, like chain migration, tightening that up, like getting rid of the visa lottery, and then dealing with this population.
Okay, so I get what you're saying in that the president has laid out his principles, but it's not shown up right now in any legislation in Congress. But his principles, I want to just get either you're for them or not. And his principles are, look, I'll triple what the Democrats are asking for with the Dreamers because there's another million of them out there that didn't bother to register because they were afraid of being.
I'm a little uneasy about the tripling, John. I'm a little uneasy about that. But if it means that we get enough, disincentives for future illegal immigration to have the same damn problem, if it means we get enough border security, then I'm willing to negotiate, just like the president is.
Are you willing to get rid of chain migration and the visa lottery?
Goodlatte has a bill that has, it's a conservative's wish list, if you will, on immigration. I just don't think it has I don't believe it will get the votes to be able to pass the House. Mm-hmm. But I'm good with all the things on there,
Mm-hmm. So basically,
I'm good with. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. So it sounds like what you're saying is you're willing to look at a compromise to allow the DACA applicants plus others to stay as long as we solve the immigration crisis we have, the problem.
That's correct. Otherwise, we'll have the same damn problem, in a few years.
And because there's no legislation right now for you to look at, you're kind of keeping an open mind to see what ends up coming out of various committees, right?
That's correct.
Okay. I'll take that. I want to get to the release of the Democratic memo. The Republicans voted to release their memo. The Democrats voted not to. Then the Democratic 10-page rebuttal, whatever it is, spin memo, the president says he's not going to release. Let me just ask this question. What difference does it make? Why don't you just get the affidavit released that went to the FISA court judge, and then that would show that either they utilized the fake phony dossier as a centerpiece of their evidence or not? Why not just get the affidavit released, and then we don't need any of the memos?
I'm fine with that. Look, they definitely used it. It was, here's the deal. I know you probably have lawyers out there listening, right? You don't lead with your weakest argument, right? They led with the dossier in the FISA application. So would I like to see it come out? Yes. There needs to be sources and methods protected. Fine. But, I've read the Dem memo. I've obviously read our memo. There's nothing in the Dem memo that negates any of the facts and the disturbing things brought out from the Republican memo. And when you look at both of them side by side, when the Dem memo is completely political. I mean, the first paragraph it just bashes Republicans the whole time. Mm-hmm. And every single page of the Dem memo, if I recall correctly, has sources and methods on it. Every one. There are none on ours because they actually were careful about scrubbing it. So when but at the same time, as long as it doesn't harm our national security, I want you, John, and your listeners and Americans to see as much as possible, because I think when you have a court that only one side gets to present their case and it's secretive, if we have issues with that now, where we think that there were abuses, those things have to come to light for the trust of institutions. And for those things, for the American people to show that civil rights were not violated for American citizens, I think it is imperative that we're transparent and that you get all the facts and everything that's out there. I don't like how political it's become,
Right.
even though I'm not naive to think that there aren't going to be politics, but it's too political right now. I think it's important for just send the facts out. So when you said, the FISA application, as long as it's, if it's not harmful for national security, send the damn thing out.
Right.
I think it's important for people to see that. And it is important to ask questions. Why would they, if they downplay the dossier, which Adam Schiff does like the whole year, who's, he's made a career out of coming on TV and creating this narrative without having to show any damn facts and being called on it, that they downplay this dossier. They led with the dossier in the FISA application. Mm-hmm. They led with it. So clearly it is a fundamental piece of how they were able to get a FISA warrant. There are big problems with that, big problems with using political opposition research to be able to get a warrant. And I think that you and your listeners and the American people have a right to see as much as possible so that we can hold people accountable who potentially perpetrated abuses and try to regain trust back in some of our most fundamental institutions.
Okay, so hashtag release the affidavit, right? That's the bottom line. You release the affidavit, and we're going to find out who lied and who didn't, and it's simple as that. You don't need a 10-page memo. You need simply the one-page affidavit. I mean, it's either there or not, right? You don't need 10 pages or 4 pages or 6 pages. You just need something that will tell you the truth. Mark Warner.
Barring anything that's again, you have to be responsible. So barring anything that's deals with national security or something like that, get as much of it out there as you can with the facts, not the political spin, just the facts.
Mark Warner sending private text messages to a lobbyist for a Russian oligarch, trying to get a private meeting with Christopher Steele. Now, the Warner office is telling me that, look, there's nothing there. Move along. They're also saying that Chairman Burr knew about these the whole time and he had no problem with them. My question is, if Warner had evidence that there was any sort of collusion, why would you be back-channeling meetings with oligarchs to get to Steele, who you knew from the outset was discredited, fired from the FBI, and none of his stuff was ever corroborated by intel? What would be the incentive for Mark Warner to do this? That's my question.
I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that there's nothing nefarious. But I remember talking to him months ago in the summertime about this Russia thing, and he was talking about the there, and I don't even know what the hell there means. But you could tell he was sort of swept up in this conspiracy type thing where it's like, I think there's something going on here. I got to find out. And I think folks like him and others in the party perhaps really thought there's something there, and they're like trying to find it, and obviously because of the attention that he was getting and Schiff's been getting and all these other folks, because the media is obsessed about this damn Russia thing, they're almost incentivized to go out and try to find something. But I have problems with what he did. I definitely they're so quick to throw Donald Jr. under the bus and try to act like, he was trying to get information on Hillary Clinton from this crazy Russian lawyer in the meeting and everything like that. But here's Mark Warner doing whatever he can to cover his tracks and try to find information, basically doing the same thing that they're trying to, put Don Jr. in jail for, and the same thing with Adam Schiff. I mean, there's reports out there that he was falling for some Russian or Ukrainian pranksters who were trying to, ensnare him in something that it was like a joke. Mm-hmm. But these guys they're so obsessed with it, and they get so much attention from it. So they're almost, you heard Warner, he's like, this is the most important thing I've ever done in my life. And we had this conversation. I told him personally, I'm like, Mark, the bigger issue here is if Russia did, which we believe that they did try to influence things. They've been doing it since the 1930s, supporting local communist parties and stuff like that. I don't think it had anything to do with the actual results. I think it had no effect on anything. I don't know anybody who voted for Donald Trump because Russia, but these guys were they were obsessed with it. And I think that they made mistakes, and I think they, because they were so obsessed with it, trying to find this smoking gun, that they became out of line in doing it. And then they were projecting on the Trump campaign for doing the same thing that these guys were trying to do, and that is try to get information from a foreign power about American citizens. I have big problems with it.
I think you've answered that question better than anybody that I've asked this week, and I want to thank you for that. We're out of time. I want to thank Scott Taylor for being us. More information, go to scotttaylor.us. Finally got that right. scotttaylor.us. By the way, Scott Taylor running for re-election in November 2018, and I am a unequivocal, enthusiastic supporter of
Thank you, John.
Scott Taylor. And now take that back for a second. We supported him in the primary over Randy Forbes and supported him in the general, obviously. And I'm honored to be his friend. Great guy. Scott, thanks for being with us, man.
Always a pleasure. Thanks, John.